this is Jessica with the Rogue Word, and today is Manic Monday, which is just going to be my weekly recap of everything I've read throughout the course of the week. I will make sure to link all the books below in the description, so if you decide to read them, you know where to find them. Anyways, the first book I read this week is called Feather by Olivia Wildenstein. And overall, it was a good book. Am I waiting for the next book? Yes. And part of the reason I am waiting for the next book is because it features a character named Celeste, who was pretty badass, honestly. I think I liked her more than I liked the main female lead in Feather. Celeste was really punky and outspoken and rebellious and feisty, and she kind of said whatever she wanted to, even though when she did something wrong or she lied or she was mean, it cost her a feather. And feathers are a big deal in this book because even though it is very much a modern day Romeo and Juliet, it is a Romeo and Juliet featuring an angel and a sinner. Now, Lee is our female MC, and she is trying to earn enough feathers to ascend to Elysium, which is the ultimate goal. And she was still quite a few shy, and one of the big seven came down and proclaimed he wanted to find a wife. And in order for him to marry Lee, she had to have all of her feathers and ascend to Elysium. So what she did is she took on a triple. And a triple is someone who's super bad. They're worth 100 feathers. And that is more than enough feathers for Lee to be able to ascend. And no one has been able to get Jared, who happens to be our male MC, to do a good deed. People end up losing feathers because of him, because he feels so bad for what he did, and he's genuinely just bad. At least, like, that's the vibe you get from him. So anyways, Lee decides she wants to marry Home Skillet from Elysium. Good for her. Whatever. He seems kind of douchey. And she took on Jared, again, who's a triple. And come to find out, the reason why Jared, shoot, I can't tell you. That would be too much of a spoiler. Anyways, Lee ends up falling for Jared naturally, because why not? That's what happens in romance books. And the ending will literally wreck your whole friggin' life. Like, I was so mad, I wanted to throw my friggin' iPad across the room. I was like, seriously? And then I was like, oh, this is very much like Romeo and Juliet. It explains so much. And I felt really dumb. Anyways, there's a series of events where Lee and Jared end up falling in love. And I actually kind of liked watching them two fall in love. I do think that Lee was not a very good MC. She was very demure. She was very complacent. I felt she was very weak as a whole. Like, you're going to this big sinner who is a mob boss, and you're just going to be like, oh, hello, hi, I'm pretty, I'm going to make you do a good deed. And I'm like, really? Well, anyways, they fall in love, tragedy hits, and in order for tragedy to actually hit, there's a series of events, but I can't tell you, because that would ruin the whole story, and then there's no point in reading the book. Would I recommend it? Yes. There are parts that are a slow read. Now, I had read one of her series before this one, and I'm like, I am never reading anything from this author again. I didn't like her style of writing. I didn't vibe with it, and I'm very much a vibey mood reader. So if I don't vibe with it, it's not my jam. But anyways, would I recommend it? Yeah. It'd be a good lazy read. Book 2 that comes out next year, I'm really excited for because it's Celeste's story and what happens with her, and it's about 4 years in the future. I think I said that already. I don't remember. I'm like a squirrel chasing a nut. That's my attention span. Anyways, so check it out. It's not bad, and the cover is beautiful. Oh my god, it is beautiful. I love a pretty cover. I am such a sucker for pretty covers. Anyways, now on to the next series. Yes, series of books. I read The Thorn Chronicles by Kimberly Loth. Now, I have read a lot of the book series from Kimberly Loth. I enjoy her style of writing. They're really fast reads. They're kind of teeny bopper. They're very much a young adult, if that makes sense, but still adult enough that you can enjoy it. Now, I was not prepared for the absolute level of child abuse in the first book. Holy Jesus, I almost just stopped reading the whole thing. I should have checked to see if there's like a trigger warning on the description or the blurb on Amazon. I didn't, but if there's not one, there needs to be one, because holy Jesus, like, Naomi is brutalized, and she's our lead MC. And she's just brutalized in like the worst way with like this cult, because in this story, there are guardians who keep people safe, and then there are destroyers. So it's kind of like, basically think like angels versus demons. That's the easiest way to describe it. And I stomached the first book. I mean, the read overall, it was decent. The storyline was okay. I feel the plot was a little weak in spots. But then this mysterious boy just shows up out of nowhere, and like he like ninjas into her room at night and like heals all of her wounds and like kisses her. And just like kissing her without permission, Lord help him. Because that, you don't do that. It's really weird. I felt that was kind of predatory behavior, but it made sense in the book. Anyways, so we progress, and Naomi falls for Kai, which is the home skillet that's sneaking in her window and healing her wounds and all the things. Well, he's undercover trying to infiltrate the destroyers to find out who the master destroyer is and to take him down, because the destroyers the current master destroyer has shifted the balance between good and evil, and right now it's excessively bad, and they're killing people, and they're not supposed to. They're just supposed to influence emotions and do bad things, and you know, they're kind of like the corruption in the world, and the guardians keep the balance. Well, come to find out, Naomi has powers. Who'd have thought? Anyways, she's got powers, and what they don't let women become guardians, because women have this ability. They can actually take the power. They can take power from the guardians. They can take power from the destroyers, but it's a very little known fact. Well, Naomi uses that to her advantage, and then somehow majestically, I'm not telling who the master destroyer is because it was like, whoa. And she ends up taking the master destroyer power, and everybody thinks that Kai is the master destroyer. Well, oops, no. And Naomi ends up feeling really used by Kai, because honestly, he kind of does use her, and he's kind of a D-bag in that when he kisses her, he is able to basically like gain enough energy to last like a month, instead of having like a bunch of harems where he has to make out with random girls to feed his energy so his magics work. And Naomi was definitely a pawn. I kind of felt for her. I mean, I had already felt for her because she got the shit kicked out of her in like most of the first book. And I really felt bad for her. But she ends up with her aunt in Vegas, and her aunt seems like a cool chick. I mean, she's a celebrity stylist. She's loaded, and she does all the fun things. But whatever. Anyways, so she ends up falling for Puck, who happens to be Kai's brother. Can we say awkward? It was a little awkward. I'm like, love triangle, that's kind of weird, but whatever. And one thing I liked about this book is they featured a lot of roses. And I like roses because they're pretty, but they can put magic and energy and vibes into the roses. And it's basically like a storage bank, but it's also like a safety net because the roses can keep you safe. Like if you put them in your bedroom, the destroyer is not going to do anything to you, which I thought was really kind of cool. But I also like to garden, so I don't know. But anyways, Alejandro is one of the bigwig guardians. They have like a hierarchy of guardians, and it varies about your power. The more powerful you are, the better your rank. Well, come to find out, Puck is actually the master guardian. So he's like the bigwig. And his next down is Alejandro, which ends up marrying Naomi's aunt. Well, he gets beheaded. And let me tell you, I was not prepared. On Christmas Day, when Naomi got that box of Alejandro's head, I was like, okay. Well, anyways, I finished the second book and I started the third one, and I couldn't do it anymore. It got so repetitive, and even bringing in another character named Sunday, who is just as powerful as Naomi, maybe even more powerful, I couldn't finish the series. It was just kind of like, how much more death, destruction, and violence can someone put in a book like this? And it was kind of gory in a sense, and I'm like, I'm not doing this. Would I recommend it? No. Definitely not. Especially if you are like the least bit triggered by violence towards children. I can't do it. And I'm surprised, honestly, I didn't put it down. But I really like Kimberly Loth, so I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt for this one. Would I recommend it? Definitely not. Would I recommend her other books, Stella and Soul? Yes. That one was a great read. I enjoyed it. And now let's get into the last book I read for the week. It was Lord, I was up all night reading this book because I wanted to be able to put it into today's video. Anyways, I have not read anything by this author before. So she was highly recommended, and her name is Jenna Wolfhart, and I read The Court of Ruins, The Fallen Fae. It's the first book. It was just released like a few weeks ago. The cover is super pretty, which I'll make sure to put all the books in like this little corner thing up here so you guys can at least see the covers, because I'm a sucker for covers. Anyways, so I was not really, I got notes. This was written really weird. Now it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 7 stories written into one. Each, I swear, like most of the main characters are characters that are going to play a vital role in this book. Basically, you get like their side of things as things progresses in the book. And it was weird. I don't like books like that. I like books that just, not, here's Raina's story, who is our lead female MC in this, and then there's Tara, and then there is Lorcan, who is one of the lead male characters, and Thane, who is the lead male character, and then Mariel and Imogen and Eastlyn, and I mean it went on, and it was really weird. Like, I don't care. But I mean, but in the same sense, it worked for this story. And now about this story. So the Fae courts are at war. The different like Faes, like the Fire Fae, the Air Fae, the Ice Fae, the Wood Fae, the Shadow Fae, they're all at war. Well, the Shadow Fae are exiled. And allegedly there's nothing there. And magic is gone from the Fae. And in order to bring peace between the Air Court and the Ice Court, or whatever, there's going to be a marriage. Because why wouldn't there be a marriage to bring peace? Arranged marriages are just so fun. Anyways, There's also something called the ruin that is plaguing the lands, and it like kills everybody. It like falls like black snow, and then the next thing you know, everything's on fire and burnt to a crisp, and there's nothing but ash there. It's kind of weird. It's kind of neat, and I'm very curious to see how it originated, which I'm hoping to find out in book 2, which will be released in a couple of months. Anyways, so Rhaena's older sister was the one who was supposed to marry Thane, who is the prince from the Air Court. And the ruin hit her sister and blinded her. In order to be a high king or queen, you have to be unblemished and whole. Well, Rhaena's sister is not unblemished and whole. She is now blind and kind of just sitting in bed being sick. And so they were like, well, what about Rhaena's younger sister, Aisling? Because she knows the ways of court, even though she had witnessed the ruin murder her mother. So she's kind of out there, but she spends a lot of time in a library, which we all can appreciate, someone who spends time in a library. Well, Rhaena had renounced her titles because she wanted to be an unsworn shield maiden, which is like basically a badass warrior, and that is what she was, and she's kind of a badass. I dig it. I am here for it. Anyways, so Rhaena goes and asks her dad. She's like, Daddy, can I please have my titles back so I can marry the prince? Well, her father obviously gave her the titles back, and next thing you know, they're betrothed. So off to the Air Court they go. Well, there was a few assassination attempts against Rhaena because, again, why not? People are vying for the Air Court's throne. They want it. They want absolute power, and they're going to do whatever they have to do, even if it's kill a princess. So, anyways, they go through that. But Thane and Rhaena don't vibe. They don't mix. They're like the opposite ends of the spectrum. And Thane ends up falling for Aisling, who thought Thane was just like this trash bag dumpster. Well, it ended up very much like a love square. Is that even a thing? A love square is a thing because Rhaena was betrothed to Thane, but Thane has the hots for her sister, and Lorcan has the thoughts for Rhaena, which Lorcan is Thane's bodyguard, best friend, BFF for life. I saved his life 6 million times. I don't know. Anyways, well, Rhaena ends up with a thing for Lorcan. Aisling ends up with a thing for Thane. And then towards the end of the book, Thane's like, I'm not going to marry you. I'm going to marry your sister. Well, at Thane's coronation, because his mother ended up blackmailing his dad, which was, I'm like, you go girl, get yourself a throne. Anyways, Imogen is his mother, and she blackmailed Sloane, which is Thane's dad, for the throne. She got it. Well, her lover, Shady Mofo, ended up conspiring against everybody and got Imogen locked in the dungeons for treason. And Aisling and Rhaena were kidnapped. Well, Aisling was kidnapped. Rhaena, being this badass warrior that she is, went after her sister, of course, because, I mean, it's her sister. She's going to protect her. She doesn't want her to die. And then some things come out about Lorcan. And then, well, before some things come about Lorcan, him and Rhaena did the deed. And it was a good erotic scene. It was not bad. I will say, when you are writing erotica, when it comes to losing virginity, you have to do it appropriately. Because here's the thing. You are not going to slam his elongated shaft into her awaiting core. It's not going to work. That is going to break her snatch. You don't do that. So that is my only qualm with her writing in that like little spot of erotica, because there was only one love scene in the whole book. And I was like, that's not how this works, girl. It is not how it works. Anyways, Rhaena ends up rescuing her sister, of course. And then somehow she magically ends up in the Shadow Phase Court, where she finds out some interesting things about Lorcan. Thane also got himself kidnapped because I'm pretty sure he's kind of dumb, and ends up a prisoner in the Shadow Phase Court, and then they left us hanging. Till the next book. Would I recommend this book? If you can deal, like, I took notes. I don't even know if I'll put a screenshot, if I can figure out how to do it in iMovie. I'll put a screenshot up there to show you, like, the different highlights of different parts of the story. Like, one chapter it was Tara, one chapter it was Imogen, one chapter it was Thane, one chapter it was Eastland, one was Lorcan. It was really weird. If you can totally vibe with that, read it. If you can't vibe with it, read it anyways, because you might like it. Did I like the story? Yes. I liked that Reyna was like this badass warrior. She was not made to be a princess. She was not made to be at court. She was strong. She was powerful. She was unforgiving, and she was vengeful. And I loved her. I loved her. She was like everything I think a warrior princess should be, because she is a warrior princess. And it was fabulous. Lorcan was sneaky and deceitful, but loyal. And I liked him. Thane I did not like. I thought he was a petulant child and kind of a douche. Eastland, she was alright. She was quiet, book nerd, which I support. But she didn't love easily, because she went from like totally hating Thane, and then after they spent all that time together, she fell in love with him, which was nice to see. But at the same time, I think I would have liked to have seen more of the romance develop between Thane and Eastland. I think that's necessary, because we only got tidbits throughout the book, where we got a lot of Reyna and Lorcan, like in their relationship building. And I thought that was really nice, because again, I love Reyna. When I grow up, I want to be a badass warrior princess too, but probably ain't gonna happen. Anyways, those are the books I read this week. I hope you enjoyed Manic Monday, and please subscribe. I put all of our social media down in the little description box thing. Anyways, have a great week. Happy reading. I hope you maybe found some new authors and some new books you might be interested in. And if not, my bad, bro. But anyways, see you guys. Bye.